Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you want to know why boxing is called the sweet science, I would suggest you watch some highlights of Vasily Lomachenko. Creative, technical, and blindingly fast, he credits his incredible footwork and understanding of movement to his father, who kept him in dance classes until his early teens. If you want to demonstrate to someone why climbing is so much fun to watch, there's a long list of people you could go with, but one of the best options, to me, would have to be Ashima Shiraishi. Raised by a dancer and taught to climb at a young age, Ashima's grace, strength, and fluidity help her stand out in a field of incredibly talented women, and this has made her one of the best all-around climbers on the planet today. This is my breakdown of one of the most graceful rock climbers alive. This is the flexibility of Ashima Shiraishi. Hey everyone, welcome back to Climbing Styles, where we analyze some of the best climbers in the world to see what makes them unique. Today we're going to be looking at Ashima Shiraishi, whose footwork and flexibility are simply on another level from everyone else on the climbing scene. First, I want to talk about flexibility in climbing and why it's useful. It's sort of a dumb way to put it, but flexibility is really just the ability to put your body in positions that others can't. In climbing, this usually has two functions. It can help you fit into small spaces, or it can help you span large ones. In terms of fitting small spaces, this is most useful on compression moves or what's called boxes. In climbing, a box is the range of holds that a climber is able to fit comfortably in. With a small box, climbers often have to use their flexibility, especially in their hips, to be able to get in the right positions. Being too tall to fit the box is the excuse I use every single time I can't do a sit start. Look at Janja Garnbret try to fit in this chimney in Hachioji 2019. She just can't get the foot up and she has to do a really bad alpine knee and it doesn't work. Now look at Akio use her hips to get the right leg up and how easily the route goes after that. On the flip side, flexibility can also help you expand your box past what the route setters intended. Take, for example, the 2019 Chamonix lead final. Low down, the athletes were faced with this tricky sequence where they had to cut feet, swing out to the left, and then bump the left hand up to this next undercut. This move required a lot of finger strength, and it led to Sean McCall falling early. Look at Alex Megos do it. He drops in with the right hand and then somehow brings his left foot all the way up into this awful looking split. This means he doesn't have to do the same bump that everyone else did, and he's able to size up the beta while having a bit of a shakeout. That's really the advantage of flexibility. It helps put you in positions that other climbers can't get to, which can help with beta modifications and can make the route easier than the setters intended. When it comes to using their flexibility creatively, almost no one does it better than Ashima Shiraishi. Before we can talk about her though, we need to talk quickly about Squarespace, the sponsor of today's video. As the best website building platform in the world, Squarespace has everything you need to build your online business or passion project. Guys, I've used WordPress before and I've spent a lot of time being confused by WordPress. Squarespace has the best balance of technical features with easy user interfaces for people who don't want to learn how to code. You can pick from a variety of templates to build your website, customize what type of products you want to offer, and Squarespace will even help you design and manage your inventory, whether it's a physical product, a service, or anything in between. When you're ready to start, go to squarespace.com/ascensionism for a free trial, and use the code Ascensionism for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. If you want to know how Ashima developed her style, look no further than her height and the insane trajectory that her career took. She first took up climbing at age 6 when her parents took her to Central Park in New York. There, she discovered Rat Rock, the place where you go if you want to boulder outdoors while also living in one of the largest metropolises in the world. From an early age, it was obvious how incredibly talented Ashima was. She began competing at 7. By 8, she had climbed V11, and at 12, she was up to V13 and 514C on lead walls. Now, this is just insane. 8 years old, climbing a V11, it's honestly kind of insulting for the rest of us, but most of all, it's just unbelievably impressive. I think being that good at such a young age really lay the foundation for Ashima's style. When you're 8 years old, you can't rely on length, reach, or even really raw strength. You need to learn to move statically, and you need to learn to get creative. I think coming up how she did helped Ashima develop her skill, and at 5 feet flat, she's carried the style forward into a world-class career. The first thing you notice about Ashima when you watch her climb is her footwork. I talk a lot about footwork in this series, but Ashima stands out because of how her feet are always on the wall. Now, this is one of the fundamental elements of rock climbing technique, but it's not something you always see at super high levels. Part of this is due to competition routes, which have clearly defined handholds and footholds. To see what I mean, check out this clip of Kai Harada at the Hachioji finals. Look at his left foot as he goes up to the crimp. It's not on anything and is just hanging out in space. Once he gets there, he locks in the left heel, and then it's his right foot that's sort of just sitting there. A moment later, he swaps his feet, and now the left foot again is not doing much. Most coaches teach 3-point climbing, where you have 3 points of contact with the rock at all times. I would call what Kai is doing 2-point climbing. He always has one good hand and one good foot, and he isn't too concerned with getting that third point of contact with the wall. Now, this isn't necessarily bad. Kai is moving quickly on bad holds. He doesn't want to spend too much time figuring out the right beta, and he's almost saving himself energy by moving his hands and feet together. Look at it compared to Ashima though. She keeps her toe down to get this clip, moves the left hand, left foot, right hand, left heel hook, shake out, right hand, right foot up. It's subtle and methodical, but she almost always keeps 3 points of contact with the wall at all times. This helps to conserve energy, making every move place as little strain as necessary on her hands. One thing that amazes me is how Ashima does this even on long moves. Look at her here in Innsbruck, dragging that right toe and stretching out to make this move. It's not just that she's good at keeping her feet on though. Ashima is incredibly talented at using high feet, heel hooks, and toe hooks to turn what should be large moves into smaller ones. My favorite example of this is Chamonix 2019. After getting this right pinch, a few of the athletes set that left toe on this chip and threw up to the left hand. This is an insanely powerful move. Look at Natalia cut loose as she goes for it. Now, watch Ashima. She seems to consider the jump before deciding against it. Instead, she goes for a high right heel and is able to go up with the right hand. Immediately after that, she brings the left foot up to match, ending up in this sort of squatted position. Doing this avoids the dynamic sequence and turns a large box into a small one, helping her to do a more high percentage move. A few moments later, you see another example of her footwork. She eyes up the jump for this hold, but instead of going for it, she swings around and uses this tiny chip, almost as a drop knee, to kill her momentum going up. This is something Ashima does a lot of, using high feet to manage her momentum and help her on long reaches. Here's her doing it down low in Chamonix, again in Briançon, and once more in Innsbruck. Each time she does this, she's using her feet to keep herself static, so she doesn't need to jump or swing. When Ashima's at her best, when she's really in her flow, all of this comes together to make her use her feet in ways that no one else really does. Look at her here at the US Open, bringing this left foot all the way up to match her hands. Immediately after, check out how she places the right foot against that volume instead of letting it dangle. It probably doesn't do too much, but it's a nice little callback to what I was talking about earlier, as many points of contact with the rock at all times. She uses her flexibility and the intentionality of her foot placements to flash this boulder and secure herself the competition win. Really, when it comes down to it, I think that's what defines Ashima's climbing, maybe more than anything else she does. She uses her footwork to constantly keep herself in balance, shortening the moves she needs to make and compensating for her height. It's why I went with the dancer for this video, because there's an element of grace and rhythm when she moves that's super unique. It's what's always stuck out to me about Ashima's climbing. High feet, good technique, and absurd beta adjustments that allow her to thrive in almost every scenario and break down moves that often stump taller climbers, and that is the flexibility of Ashima Shiraishi.